Top of the middle of the day to you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We're outside for a little saw testing. It's supposed to be spring, and it's kind of looking like that down here, but we got fresh snow in the mountains around here overnight, so it's actually fairly cool, even though it looks balmy. For your viewing pleasure, today we're going to do a little taste test comparison between a bone stock MS 261 standard versus my 346. The 346 is sporting a Meteor cylinder assembly. I wanted to play around with some stuff, and we're kind of in a mid-range tune level, I guess, at this point. Probably along the lines of Psycho as far as the zip kit choice goes. And it's not really going to be much of a comparison, I don't think, against the 261. We're basically establishing at this point for a baseline. We're not really thinking that this saw is going to do well against this saw. We're just going to try to see what happens after I get done working on the 261. I'm thinking that you're going to notice the alternate dogs on that thing. The one that came in on this saw was, I'm going to say, I don't really know what to say. It didn't really work very good. How's that? And so I made a set, and I think they're going to work pretty good, especially if you're running a 24 or something like that. Anyway, we have a brand new 325 chain on that. I have not touched the stops on it. I think this saw is going to be struggling on a personal level. And so let us begin this session before she gets too cooled off. I forgot to mention that this saw is the standard version. We can adjust the carburation, but we cannot do anything with the rev limiter that's in there. Air injection saw, so it's basically sporting a meter to air leak, I guess, at that point. And we have to give the consideration to what happens with these saws, where as long as you're below the rev limiter threshold, this saw will continue to gain RPM. So technically these saws will cut above 14,000, even though the rev limiter kicks off at quote unquote, we see it when we monitor it with the tachometer around 13.5 somewhere. They're actually running higher than that, but the interrupted signal happens on a 7 to 9 kind of interval per 1,000 RPMs where it'll actually cut out. So there's no, I've read the printed literature, there's no X number. It kicks off and it interrupts X number of sparks. It seems like it ranges a little bit, talking to the tech guy. Well, the tech guys from this company right here, and reading the literature, but it's somewhere around 7 to 9 interrupted signals per 1,000 RPMs. I thought I'd throw that out there. And then we'll take a look at the dogs. Added the chain catcher as well. These things actually work. So I'm thinking you can see that the chain stretched a little bit in that process, and that was, well, I don't even know what to say. But like I said, we're just trying to establish a baseline for how the performance increases with this saw. Alrighty, we managed to complete the wardrobe change. That requires a spacer on the bar studs to fit with the Stihl 12mm bar stud. I actually really appreciate that there's a wide range of saws from their lineup that has that 12mm size bar stud. It allows for a lot of different, well, for me on a personal level, saw testing operations to happen. So anyway, we saw the 261 kind of struggling a little bit, and we're going to be super hopeful that in the end it actually runs pretty good. Now we're going to queue up the 346 and see what happens here. I'm thinking there's a little bit of a difference between these two. Struggling really hard. Struggling a little bit. That chain is the first round of sharpening. Stops are all the way up. It's not doing very good at the moment, but they never do for about 3 or 4 sharpening attempts. So we're going to have to, I guess we're going to have to put the hurt on this one on the operating table and see if she comes around at all. I'm pretty hopeful, actually. Looks like we're going to be doing the torque tweak to that saw as well. This saw doesn't have that. The 346 is just standard monkey business with that cylinder assembly. I can't say I'm overwhelmed with the design of the transfer ports in that thing, but it's a good kind of a platform, I guess, to try some different stuff, and if you end up nuking it in the end through the R&D process, it's not really too big of a shame and nobody's crying too hard. So anyway, thanks for watching this session. Have a blessed day wherever you might be on God's green earth.